不戒会在5分钟，大约5分钟会入座。那么人不戒呢，在法会进行当中，人不戒入座或起坐，请大家人不戒有一再的交代，人不戒最希望的大家是持咒、打坐、禅修，请大家不要起立。如果大家维持禅修、持咒，这是人不戒最希望也是对上师最大的顶礼跟供养，所以请大家不要只有早上9点钟进场的时候，以及最后人不戒离座的时候，我们才起立。中间法会进行当中，请大家保持就持不断经咒，保持禅修打坐，那么这样的就对上师，我们最多就是双手合十，这个是对上师最恭敬的、最上的供养。Some words for me and our friend.
Cái lần như thế này thì đã được thông báo năm giờ sau khi kết thúc ngày buổi chiều thì mọi người tập trung ở phía trước của các bạn tham gia phía trước chúng ta sẽ có người phút để đến buổi chiều.
Comment dire? La porte c'est loin, non?
We are reading the lineage supplication on page 1.
โยโตจิมามาโยมอาเดเจเลเจโยโยเบลาเชเจเยเลเจเจเทเบกนาลามาวาเจวญาเยกาปาเจเจโยเบลากมาระ
We're on page 8 now, taking refuge and giving rise to bodhicitta.
Yeah.
Vajrakilaya deities, large and small, softly fall and dissolve into me. The deities of my body mandala and the deities in union residing in the centers of my channels are like the seeds of an open sesame pod. They and all the deities of the mandala reverberate with the sound of the mantra like the sound of a broken beehive.
ro na ba ga ma ma te chu da ko ji de na da ka lang kong we wa shi pa ba sa fu chu pa ba de kong long fi yo de yin dong za na na thực cái rồi giờ đó bên này thì cả hai tao chưa giờ được lo ya rồi nên là đó thì một chút thôi là chết rồi cái phàm đồ sinh tạo ra rồi này cái là nhà nhiên chế rồi đối ra đi là cũng đã được tạo ra rồi cái yang ra ăn rồi này ra cái một số là dùng đồng chế phẩm này đối ra thì giờ đến đâu thì rất là cái mà đó thì bị chọc cái phải là cái gì rồi để lo ra chính cái đồng ra yang phải ăn được xong một tăng cái gì đồng ra还讲等啥子个呢？这里呢就拿到的做些什么样的，这当多少的啦，这个机器不要来。
So again, Dhamma friends, please continue to recite the mantra uninterruptedly and quietly to yourself. And so just before we mentioned the wisdom awareness purba and also a bit about the bodhicitta purba. And so it's very important actually that we have a text that we can refer to because if we give instructions and we don't really have a text that we can later consult again, then even though we hear the instructions, after we heard them, again they are gone, so we won't remember them. So it's important that we really have a text to refer to and really understand the meaning of that text. And for this reason, again and again, I'm repeating these instructions because they have to be kind of put into our minds so we remember them. So that is why if I keep telling you over and over again, although I do not have a lot of learning myself, but these are the things that we need to do when we engage in this practice and so on, then if that is placed into our mind and really kind of emphasized, then we will really think about this again and again. And if we think about it again and again, then our understanding of this will become increasingly profound.
Mong tốc sơn song, thế yang sao mong tốc sơn thì sao được không? Nếu chỉ là tống thì chỉ phải để phá sự, tống thì chỉ là cái sự tăng à, nếu chỉ là dùng bộ dễ sẽ cho tống, cha là, chỉ cha đi dùng bộ dùng rồi, nếu dùng cái không thể thằng hạ khổ là chỉ cái nửa ba thì hạ khổ, nếu hạ khổ nửa ba thì hạ khổ, tức là nó thay là đồng ý. thế 동네 쪽에 정말이 저 자가 너무 바로 터고 너무 뭐도 다 양서 다 나디는 맛을 직접 터고 말이야. 나디 기본으로 어쨌다 다 나서 좀 되면 가서마데 한번 나고지 않을 도보도 차대요. 이런나 대를 무고도 제말 드리는 애들이 늘서 어떻게 때려시 봤잖아. 이 체달시는 주방에 이 탑지 체지 추가적인 강도 사와시나 나비 주로 제가 체다 또 찾고 요래 그래서 이 타스 봐도 좀 먹고 이 먹지 봐도 다다 설 유몽 program은 마잘 되어 보여요. 마잘지 봐도 설에는 요래 나 속자 무슨 차워서 있는 이 코로나 랑쪽 부분이 봐야 요 말이 녹에 니송 고 똑하나 요 말이 당 미통 코드 누고지 공지 메자 저저지 대자 대로 체려 비슷하다고 비슷하다는 답이 되는 거다. 그래서 방말한 거 다다를 나서 뭐 생각 거래 뭐 빠르라 강에 뭐 가래나 마라 똑게 충분히 점장제 말하는 유연성 말하는 거 왜? 좀 비슷하마. 맞아. 그게 아무래도 좀 양대 돈이 되게 눈에 돌아. 마송 직접 이런 말이 대하마 와서 뭐 없어.
So then as our understanding becomes increasingly profound, an actual feeling arises when we read through the text. And so that is why it's important to relate everything to actually something that we can refer to, like this text. And so then during the mind generation of bodhicitta, we spoke about the 3 poisons, and then the root of the 3 poisons is ignorance. And also we speak about the 5 poisons, the 5 afflictions, and they each can be combined with each other. So then we have 25. And actually Buddha spoke about 84,000 different afflictions. There are many very subtle afflictions. There are also coarse afflictions. It is important to understand where they all come from and the harm that they cause. All suffering, all pain, even the slightest discomfort has a cause, and the cause are our afflictive emotions. And there is not a single affliction which does not arise from self-grasping. They all arise from self-grasping. So even though now, for example, you might have a positive thought like, I need to protect this person or care for them, and this is my friend, and so on. Or even like the affliction is something like the affliction is justified, so we feel that this is a good thing, we need to sustain it. But actually, what it leads to is a solidified grasping to the true existence of how we see things. And due to this fixation, because we treat the body, the physical, as most important, and then this leads us to become very attached to this life. And it is said whoever is attached to this life is not a true Dharma practitioner. So whatever you do, whether you practice the Dharma or engage in mundane activities, if it is for this purpose, it is mundane. So even though you might practice the Dharma, it still becomes just ordinary and mundane. And ultimately all of that comes down to ignorance. And of the 6 afflictions, ignorance is related to pride. And everyone really has it. Even a little animal, like a little insect, a spider, has ignorance. Actually, a little insect doesn't have a lot of power to protect itself, but when it sees a very huge human being, it builds itself up, makes itself all big, and maybe other animals even like let out a cry or something to scare the human being, but actually it's so much smaller and can really do nothing. So that's the kind of pride that every being really has. Or as humans, we might feel that everything is going well, I don't have any sickness, or I don't have a lot of mental suffering, I don't have any financial difficulties, and since I was young I was studying, and everything that I have, I earned it, it's all my own capability. I did it all myself, it's my achievement. So this kind of mindset is a prideful mindset. And we have to really reflect on this over and over again, because it all comes from this natural state of ignorance within us. So there's really nothing that we do that doesn't come from this mind of selfishness, or this self-importance, and not understanding all of that everything arises from karma. That is what we call ignorance.
이목대 제정들랑 소식 비를 쳤다 그래. 나도 이게 파트는 오 지랑 지랑래 땅보발이 지랑들이 이제는 맹도야 요면 우리들이 뭐 책도를 요라 주시게 요래 내요. 롱나를 반드라미다나 동네들랑 소식 비를 쳤다 소도 소목제 조가래. 또뭐 제가 따라 가요 요래는 땅에 대다가 두브레를 지치배와 생고마라 대바제비시바 생고마라 상훈제제 마시바 나 저보랑 저보랑 주제제 전도 로체보 대답을 저거를 바주제 전에요 ren제라나게 우리에서 문제 내지면 그렇게 같이 전화 맞춰지듯이 톡톡 요 말이 내가 그래서 다들 되지 당시 양들 내렸더니 맞게 다들 내렸어 다들 눌렀어 맞게 되게 내지 내와서 내가 이제서 제발 좀 Dia tumzi tang ji rangi metang chung chung ji rangi tombo tombo kazi yagun zombo dia ne desa ji longdu de milite chutamite ne tobiore longdu de dimbar ne tobiore to zombo dongde batane yobara ne tobiore de tasok ta sa choksen sabara pije ne de pasin chok 이제 아침에 내가 돌게 되어 매일 무슨 소바 사족 창제 공부를 쌈들이 시작할 때에 타고요. 그래서 쌈들이 저 차차 시작을 했잖아. 대바다 이제 소매를 연구해요. 이 파들에서 매년에 상하나 라지기 때라 이제 동네 좋다봐. 생고말 대바 기가 계시바 我做什么用的准许吧，那老上去那这个这样的这把刷亏了的，这把刷的这些照片呢，就是说他工作中的医生让的这他的让人家人家特别要的，这同样就是那个说这他把这了没事的让的这人家的人民的那套人搞人看来的东西，这把西把这搞了个这都这啥搞的。주지 가래에 드바티 하고 그 드바티 하고 때 파장 탑들이 다 종식이요. 이제 양들이 이제 저기 쳐보여 했지.
So however much ignorance oneself possesses, one has to see for oneself by looking at one's own mind. So we cannot actually judge anybody else and look at them and call them, you are just a beginning practitioner. Nobody can make such a judgment. We can just really see it for ourselves by looking at our own mind. And so, of course, there are some certain qualities that are explained in the scriptures that speak about signs of one's understanding. But we can see for yourself really how much, you can best see for yourself how much ignorance I really have. And so some signs of a greater amount of ignorance in your mind is that you do not really believe in karma and you're not able to develop a lot of faith and devotion to the three jewels, and love and compassion for sentient beings also doesn't arise so easily, and you mostly care about yourself and your own life. And however, even if that is the case, even though you do everything for yourself, if you do not possess the karma to accomplish those things that you wish to accomplish, then nothing will be accomplished, no matter how much you try. There might be some temporary achievements, but then ultimately all happiness and all achievement depends on your karma. It is said, if you wish to know what you did in a past life, then look at your present body. We say, may beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So even the slightest happiness has a cause. For example, a small family or some friends who get along well and share a nice meal together. Just this happiness, this enjoyment has a cause. And so generally, having found the precious human body is due to having practiced ethical discipline. And if you find that you have wealth and possessions, it is because you have practiced generosity. And if you have harmonious friends and a beautiful appearance and a long life and so on, then that is because you have practiced patience. And all of these practices arise out of bodhicitta, love and compassion. Because we love, we practice the 6 paramitas. And if we practice them well, then temporarily that leads to the happiness in the higher realms, such as being born as a perfect human being and so on. And then the paramitas of meditation and wisdom lead to the ultimate attainment of enlightenment. So the slightest cause of meditative absorption leads to the accomplishment of wisdom and the unity of faith and compassion. And such a person, for example, will have a natural tendency to be aware of other people's suffering around them and they are able to develop faith in the three jewels, and they are able to remember the qualities of the three jewels. Because their obscurations are somewhat lighter, they know how to follow the three jewels properly, they know how to engage in practice, and they know how to sustain a continuum of practice. And they know what is the crucial point of practice, what is the essence, the whole point of practice. And so these are things that we need to consider, and also the obscurations, if they're thicker, why are we obscured? What is an obscuration? And how does it happen that the mind becomes obscured? So it's very important to recognize the way in which the mind becomes obscured, and then once we recognize that we also know how to make a proper effort to find methods to purify, remove these obscurations. So this essential point on the actual practice is really very important.
什么样的力量可以移除这样的障壁跟阻碍？这是我们所需要采取的方法加以对治。
这个他上海也让巴松，上海也让巴松，我这里他这把的另外一中国这把的了，那全国这把的，西周这把松，西周这把可能是呢，大一你没把生活能看到，全国的人把多的。 大军也有人那些的，这个西周这把手，这嘛就这个有个把这，这个我上前面进去，来上的，来的把茶一样的，把茶了，他多少都是说茶有的，这把手，这路的他们这里，那路嘛多吧，这一波了这里，当地的讲呢，你当地的讲嘛，这里的大，什么这里把这个大没把哈好有的。 那么这么营养把这把哈过来，这里这个西罗这把汤，这里这个来是很有嘛的，这里来给为来种子那个对吧啦，那个对吧高不有的，上去高帮嘛这个对吧就给吧，真给有的，没给吧，你们把你把哈过来，这让人帮这有这讲给有的，这里把差的这把讲嘛是吧？这个这里他上岸的切这个就是也能把的，到了为这。 哪里说的嘛？在咱们阳明街呢，这上出去就不光那这里要嘛不过呢，当地的早的谁什么这里嘛多有的，人家的这个路上嘛都把车子这些有的，这些的这是这会有的，这用嘛是把它上下里两把的呢，路就把车用完了接人，哪个把它用完了这里，哪这把这了这里，哪的你梦见这把全部有的。 这个把茶的，这里他你这个有的，在中华这边的接人大概是阿七波，这接人个他这个早啊看着的了，你说接人知道哪个在哪说话，就是比咱们那个恰当的时候都有的，这种咱们那个恰当的是，能刚才这个累积这个就讲沈中王啊、南蒙啊、邵万清啊这种这辈子沈南卡。 雷中王啊，沈南卡的别的，那是说人看到，查的人，做查的就沈南卡的别，这里的中王啊，这把人用啊，这还好说，这他们这把人是查他们肉呢，明了这都查的嘞，这上啊也行啊，说，也行啊，这方面这他我那时候两人结巴，他就不是两次用我干了，但是梦起吧还好头有的，这把我把这上手吃了呢，那上手吃了不吧，上班人也菜没吧，上手吃做了我接受，但是用过了，原来这里他我们上那个就过了，收了在那这他别人们对他边呢，他这钱呢，那他这个来呢，这些什么我都老不干嘛就抓人。 我这去搞了别些活动，这去搞成六十，这忙不了，这你人，搞这里的人，通这三个人啊，这里是手头炸了，是把它这个这么讲什么，什么啥都生意都是这东西，情况这个说这个情况我说，情况上这些哈活呢，情况上这些这个地方情况上，你地方差的。 They have got this one, Jerry or Letada, there is the change the Mama from the Kalina Sanga to Batam, also Hashi Gao, the
So it is said that the Vajrayana path is the swift path, and now that is because that is related to those obscurations that we mentioned. And so we have the obscurations, body, speech, and mind, and now within the mind, the ultimate obscuration is this subtle obscuration that prevents us from knowing our true nature. So due to this obscuration, we perceive a duality of self and other. This dualistic consciousness perceives a duality and doesn't realize that its actual nature is selfless and vast like space. So due to this obscuration, to knowing your true nature, the obscurations of the afflictive emotions arise. And then due to being afflicted, then you perceive things a certain way. So you grasp at the true existence of things as they appear to you. And due to that, you accumulate karma. You form habitual imprints, which then lead to birth in the 6 realms of samsara. So this is how obscurations arise in our mind and increasingly accumulate, and it comes down ultimately to not understanding one's own true nature. So it is basically self-grasping that prevents us from seeing, and that is what needs to be purified. It is purified if you cultivate immeasurable love. When that arises, you naturally begin to understand that there is no self existing on its own. And when you realize that, you also realize that there is no others. And in this way, the subtle obscurations to knowing your true nature become purified, and you will not accumulate karma. And even temporarily, you will achieve happiness, because we want to achieve happiness, and we need to be happy until we attain enlightenment. So such a person would understand, would be able to remember the actual causes of happiness and the actual causes of suffering, the afflictions. And knowing that, those afflictions become naturally purified. And so now in the Vajrayana, we said, is the swift path whereby we can attain enlightenment in a single lifetime, in a single body. This is also, for example, according to the Sutra path, one practices mainly according to the 37 Bodhisattva practices and focuses on cultivating bodhicitta, and then throughout several lifetimes, gradually self-grasping becomes exhausted and the afflictive emotions disappear gradually. But then still, it takes so long because you still have those habitual imprints of body and speech. So these slight obscurations are still present. And the Vajrayana is the skillful means to purify these. So that is through the visualization of the deity, the generation stage, we purify the habitual imprints of the body. And by reciting the mantra, we purify the imprints of speech. And actually, speech and afflictive emotions have a very strong connection. And so now we believe, we grasp at the true existence of appearance as our own body. We hold the universe and sentient beings as all separately existing entities. We see everything in a dualistic way. So in order to purify these, we visualize the deity and we recite the mantra. And so ultimately, when the ultimate essence of practicing the generation stage is that gradually, by visualizing the form of the deity and reciting the mantra, first of all, you begin to realize that how this universe, how this world actually comes into being. So what's the true nature of the outer universe and how it is related to your own inner body, and that it actually is exactly the same. There is no delineation between yourself and the universe. On the outer level, everything consists of the 5 elements. Inside there are the 5 afflictions, and secretly these are the 5 wisdoms. the mind is like space, and that is the nature of all beings. Even a little insect has that same elements, 4 elements, and the space-like mind. So everyone has the same nature. On the outer level, comprised of the 5 elements; on the inner level, possessing the 5 afflictions. And so then you realize we all are the same. There is no separation between us. And secretly then you realize the true nature of these afflictions. When you look at them, they actually are the 5 wisdoms. And so this is an experience that you gain when you engage in true practice. And so you realize then that actually what arises as affliction is nothing but primordial awareness. And until that is realized, we make an effort in cultivating immeasurable love and compassion, the precious bodhicitta as it is called. And so this is the purpose of entering the mandala of the secret mantra. Having entered the mandala, we engage in the visualization practice, and we spend this week in a Drupchen retreat. And often disciples report when they come for questions, they say that when I was in the Drupchen, I had such a good time, I felt so happy. But then after it was over, it was all gone. Many people actually say that. And that's a true experience. Because during this short time of practice, they have gained an experience. They have somewhat purified the grasping at form and sound, and they have cultivated some bodhicitta in their minds. And to that extent, they experience great bliss. And that is actually the natural state of the mind. The Dharmakaya is greatly blissful by nature. So your true nature is actually blissful. And that is the experience, the feeling that they had gained. And that is why they like to join the Drupchen. That is actually why there are so many people around the world who are really drawn to these Drupchens. And that is also why so many people in this world are drawn in general to the practices of the secret mantra.
이 드바디나 사사사랑이 치반내가 참요. 사드 처리 제야를 때 소화가를 아주 맞추고 봤다는 사드 처리 제야매가 파점하고나 제야매가 참을 때 그런다 드바서 루치시 봐서들이 다 내지네 라당랑이 예매가 참은 산지성지 예매가 있다 와서 연구 인지매가 참 인지매는 성진이 탐세야 예식이 보여가 눈빛 탐세 다봐 나와서 되거든 우리 성지 탐세 이제 로버트 말을 맞아서 되게 나와서더니 드바메 왔다 나도 라 되더라 그거는 뭐게 송이 무슨 차트 보여 이 초월 뭐 저도 맞게 봐도 하고 잠깐 최종 한번 저 상태로送거야지 얘나 잠깐 또 말이 초월도 또 그러는 게 초월 조금 지는 잠깐 맞고 봐래 막 망보 되나 초월 맞기는 이런 거지 박차도 있어서 그런 말이에요 대회는 막 망보 다고 탕체 있는 거 말이에요 나는 팀에 내가 그래야 되는 가리라 상대에 되려고 그래
So we have the old and the new tantric transmission, and so according to the new tantric system, we speak about the 4 classes of tantra, and so these are a bit more complex. There is a different ritual way of practicing a ritual for each of those classes of tantra. And if one doesn't really understand the inner meaning, then one might believe that there are different deities, some deities that belong to the higher tantras and some who belong to the lower tantras. Or for example, if you're practicing according to the action tantra, the kriya tantra, then there is a lot of rules when it comes to cleanliness and making offerings and so on. And then you might say that you can't arrange the offerings like that, and this also is not okay, and that is not okay, so everything is not okay. And also you might say that this is not a deity of this class of tantra, but belongs to that class of tantra. But actually, the difference is not made by the deity. The deities are actually all the same. The difference lies in the practitioner, the level of their realization. And so then in the Nyingma tradition, the old tantric system, Guru Rinpoche simplified things, and he arranged those 4 classes in the form of the 4 branches of approach and accomplishment included within a single ritual. And basically we increase our familiarization with the visualization of mainly the mantra garland, and our experience increases. So first we need to understand, and then we need to increase our experience. So we go through those 4 stages of approach and accomplishment as we familiarize ourselves with the visualization of the mantra string, the mantra garland. And then along with that visualization, there is a certain number of mantras to be recited, like there's a measure for each mantra. But the point of doing that is that we need to familiarize ourselves with the deity for a very long time. And that is why there are so many mantras to be recited. Because the more we familiarize ourselves with the deity, the more we are purifying our imprints of body and speech on the inner level, and form and sound on the outer level. And so actually when you begin to purify these imprints regarding your own body and your own speech on the inner level, then eventually also on the outer level everything will appear as empty too. So the point is that the mind releases grasping, stops grasping at things. And if we do not grasp, for example, even if you're in this room that is filled with people, you would simply have no thought at all about them. You still see them and you know what is happening around you, but there is no thinking about it. And especially if you have cultivated bodhicitta, you would perceive everyone as a family. And if they're here, nothing bothers you. And if you close your eyes, it is as though there's no one even here. So when there is no grasping at form, then this is what we call this inseparability of appearance and emptiness. So that is important for the mind to not cling to anything. And so now coming back to those 4 branches of approach and accomplishment, first is the approach. So here we visualize the mantra string of the short essence mantra on Vajrakilaya Hung Pet, circling around the Hung syllable at the heart, and that is the approach. And so then when that is clear, then you can start to revolve the mantra garland around the Hung slowly, and then that accelerates and becomes very fast, just like the engine of a jet plane. And it becomes so fast that you can't even see it with your eyes any longer, but it gives off a sound of a mantra. And that is the close approach, the second branch. So the first one, the approach is like becoming acquainted with the deity. And secondly, the close approach is like becoming friends with the deity. So that is when the mantra string is circling very fast. And so here we need to see the relation between the deity and the practitioner. So as you continue to engage in practice and progress along those stages, you are becoming increasingly closer to the deity. So that means your love and your trust in the deity increases. And so then the third step is the accomplishment. And so here you realize that you are not separate from the deity. That is, the deity never leaves your mind. The feeling is just like a mother who never forgets about her only child. So even if you're not really in meditation session, you still don't forget about the deity. That's the accomplishment. And number 4 is the great accomplishment. And so here you realize that you're actually indivisible from the deity. Buddhas and sentient beings are indivisible. There is no more dualistic perception. You realize that all sentient beings possess Buddha nature. The universe and all beings are pure. All appearances are the deity. And beings only appear as sentient beings temporarily. Actually, all appearances are the deity. So this is how it appears when there is no more grasping at form, appearance, and emptiness. And so this is what Guru Rinpoche had explained when explaining these four branches. And this is the feeling that should arise. And that is why we have to recite so many mantras, for example, often a million and so on. But the number is really not most important. It's the feeling, the experience that should arise. So that means if that feeling arises quicker, even before you have completed the mantra accumulation, then you already have accomplished the deity. And likewise, if no matter how many mantras you recite, if the feeling does not arise, then you still have not cleared away those imprints of body and speech. And then you have to continue with the practice. So the point is to not focus only on the number of mantra recitation, and also do not become exhausted and tired when you have to recite a lot of mantras. Don't feel that this is just too much. So this is being said because you might think that here we sit here day and night and we have to recite mantra all the time. I wonder why this is necessary. So this is why it is necessary.
否则的话，可能有些人会抱怨来到法会现场呢，只是非常疲累的不断持咒，到底目的是什么呢？也搞得不清楚。
对的的，可咖喱也呢，跟他去不一，是吧？俺平时光的，二十多的，他们几把茶的有的，这东西不有的，二十多的咖喱，先光嘛，去把三十个茶把盆儿，先看长没把的。 这他就是长期长没法了，这还可能是长期了，出把盆儿说，出把的干的错了的了，长期的用的些了，这那贵个吃了，中国吃的，中国个吃了，老高是吃上长期了，然后把吃了说韩国别的第二节吃上到也说，这第八节我感觉咱先国嘛第八节，咱出把人就老有嘞。 갑자기 저 주바 펄고 주바 펄시바데 동제에 생고마라 대바제 그래 대바제 로비 뭐 카시 자카지 대바제 오가면 드는 사제가 상태에 소조리 싫어도 되네 이 소치 상태 싫어요 델라티니 센치도 봐 장기와데 선 도와도 센치 너무 처리고 요래 근데 처리 센치 무게 문제지 다 무게 저당잖아 들 도와도 내 당시 미성성 때라서 왕타는 거서 나도 뭐 통주서 좀 봤다 또 대마진 잡을 다 무슨 동네 가리도 없다 대탐도 이 동네에 무슨 처로를 걸어 다 시랍지는 잡을 동네지 센치다 라고 생긴 내가 차들이 초와제제 다 이내죠 다 대리 사지에서 사람 별로 생기는 이제 저거래서 별로 몇 가지를 보고 충분히 속차라서 뭐 세고 무슨들이 좋아요 가시는 가세세는 사도제 다만에 무슨 샤사타도 되세요 초박하는 매가 대통령도 너빠서 통해서 그래 문제면 시작이요 말이에요 문제 오늘 시라고 문제 시라면 내가 가려요 속차도 내세요 대세부터 받지 초와들은 어찌 뭐 이동해지 초와지 무수가 다티 문제 다 대. 야 말이 시작의 문제인데 같이 보려 해야 돼 너나 생각만 줘봐 대받지고 대받쳐서 치나 어디서 체리고 세고 말아들이 너봐 용서들이 삼대 저담 치나 되게 삼대가 똑같이 그래서 세계에서 나지 자와대 저런 거래 문에서 매와 나 매봐 나도 삼대가 똑같이 그래서 나지 총도 나지 총도 생이 몸을 내려 장터고 요래 그래서 아쪽서에 내가 용서서지 제 꿈이 뒤에 동하거나 이 뭐가서 오지 뭐부터나 생각만 대받지나 단백성 생활만 힘지지나 당아 대해서 들어가 살에서 또 초와 대인가 또잖아 얘가 보면 무슨 순간은 이 뭐가 뭐 하점 갖고 요래 몸틀 때로 몸틀고 요래 이나 제가 저쪽에 저도 되는 앞에는 그 콜로 좀 차진 차 지으라고 해 얘는 몸틀 때도 몸틀 자다 몸나 필바때도 요래 얘는 저어디 몸틀이 망보려 말 몸 같은 나도 뭐 같아 생각만 대바때요 저래 생각만 힘들지를 대저래 대이가 하고 진짜 초와도 양대한테 나고 잡더니 양한테 이제 몸나 우리들이 다다랑들이 새로 좋았지 깝들이들이 소소들이 나중에 자공들 저는 들이 잡지처럼 좋아하고 나 대인적으로 이렇게 지고요 해야지 들이들은들나 상자 내 양심이 밥 먹어서 오고
So whichever of the four major lineages we practice when it comes to
那么在修持
whatever of the four lineages we practice, when it comes to the visualization of the mantra garland, then we, in any kind of deity practice, we visualize light radiating from the mantra garland and then gathering back. And the meaning of that is always the same, no matter what deity you practice. And it has a very great meaning, actually. And so that is, first of all, these light rays make offerings to the Buddhas, to the higher beings who dwell in the Pure Lands. So these light rays become rays of offering. And so how does that happen? So first of all, it begins with an experience, a feeling that understands the qualities of the Buddhas. And then you feel a sense of devotion. So this is the light rays that are sent out. And then they pervade wherever space pervades. That is where Dharmakaya pervades. And wherever Dharmakaya pervades, Sambhogakaya, Pure Lands, pervade everywhere. For example, the Pure Land of Day1-2. And therefore, since your light rays pervade and the Pure Lands pervade, the moment you cultivate faith and devotion towards them, those light rays naturally transform into offerings. So that is the first significance of those light rays. And when you really experience this, the mind becomes like a blossoming lotus flower. The mind begins to open up and become spacious. And in this way, as your awareness increases, love and kindness for others increases. So that's the first benefit. And secondly, the light rays also purify the obscurations of sentient beings. So that happens if you recognize the suffering that all sentient beings experience in the 6 realms of samsara. So compassion arises, and then the light rays become compassion. And so therefore, the stronger your compassion, the stronger your light rays. So the greater your compassion, the more you know about the suffering of sentient beings. You are aware of their suffering. You know of the suffering of the 3 lower realms, especially the animals, for example. We can actually see the animals. And moreover, we can see nowadays how much suffering there is in the world. So somebody with compassion feels that. Somebody with some heightened awareness feels that. You feel the suffering of the world, of all sentient beings, because they are all connected to you. They're not separate from you. And that kind of compassion is a sign that you have gained an experience in the practice. And also, when the blessings of the Buddhas enter you, that is when compassion for sentient beings arises. For example, there's different people. There's some little children who naturally bring compassion with them from past lives. And for example, when they see an animal being killed, then really an unbearable feeling arises. They would never touch that animal. They would never hurt that animal. And then there's other kids who treat animals more like rocks and stones, like they have no feelings at all. Or other people who eat their flesh, eat meat and so on without any feeling, it is just food. They have no awareness at all. And so this is all the difference between the density of the obscurations. So if there is a lack of compassion, naturally there will be no wisdom, so there is no awareness. And also the other way around, the more compassion you have, the greater will be your awareness. And if your awareness is very subtle, very strong, and you see an animal being killed, or someone asks you to kill them, you would not be able to do that. You are very sensitive to the feelings of others, their feeling of pain. And that's a sign, the sensitivity is a sign of compassion. And so that is the union of wisdom and compassion. And so in brief, the greater your faith in the 3 jewels and the greater your compassion for sentient beings, the stronger will be those light rays, and the more obscurations will become purified. And so now when we purify the obscurations of sentient beings, the ultimate obscuration is self-grasping, which is just like an ice block, and that doesn't actually exist. Beings only believe that there is a self, and a self does not actually exist. And so through cultivating love, this ice block of self-grasping melts, and their obscurations become purified through your rays of light. So that's the meaning of visualizing this radiating of light rays and gathering them back. And it's important to know the meaning of those light rays. Even if your visualization is not so clear, it is fine. It is just important to know that those light rays really are your faith, your devotion to the 3 jewels, and your compassion for sentient beings. And that is sufficient really to know, because it is extremely difficult, very difficult actually, to do really well with all the visualizations. That really requires a very solid habituation for a very long time. And of course, if you can do that, that's excellent. But for example, it's also very scientific in some ways, because, for example, if you think of this watch, it's a very small object that was built by those watchmakers. And it's something that they can do. It's very fine, subtle work, but nobody can visualize that. Nobody can bring those subtle parts to mind. It's very difficult. So that's how difficult it is to visualize. And that is why we have to practice for such a long time and have to recite so many mantras. But in any case, not many can actually do that. Not many are really visualizers, so to say. So for us, it's more important, therefore, to understand the essence of what we are really doing, and when we are visualizing those light rays, and the essence is that those light rays represent faith to the three jewels and compassion for sentient beings. And if you only understand these 2 points, generate this feeling again and again and hold on to this feeling over and over again. If you habituate to this, a real feeling arises, and whenever you think of it, there it is right now. And so when you habituate to that and it arises momentarily, then whenever it arises, self-grasping, the ice block is melting and merging with the ocean. So this is a very important point. And so for now we will stop the instructions because it is very important to accumulate a lot of mantras. From the mantra garland, light rays and the second mantra garland radiate and pass from my mouth into the mouth of the mother. The self-resounding mantra proclaimed by the inconceivable dakas and dakinis in the mother's 4 chakras arouse the mind stream. From the mother's secret place, the mantra garland enters my vajra, and the deities residing in the centers of my channels proclaim the sound of the mantra. The mantra garland then dissolves into my heart. I visualize this unceasingly. Blessings, page 25. Page 28, the petition.
Om 千个当前内容的说空见阳调来 Om
The 14 root downfalls at the end. It's on page 63. 46.
天 Jaya Amen. 若那文波之空觉，多么当觉绕耶内，不可龙觉本所内，他得的天健康寿，不见那瓦他也见，东方当把解脱有，其灭多不所